Are you ready to sell your book of business as a real estate agent or a team leader? Or are you really just considering maybe having some kind of exit strategy or a partial sale to phase yourself out of the business? Well, I spoke with Nick Krautter. He's the author of The Golden Handoff and also a real estate broker in Portland, Oregon. And he walked through the process of selling your book of business and some of the pitfalls and some of the challenges, but also some of the ways to structure that deal. It was a really interesting conversation and will give all agents a lot to think about because it's not really just a process for when you're ready to sell. It's a process that prepares you for an eventual sale later down the road because your database is worth a lot of money and a lot of agents don't realize just how much it can be worth. So enjoy the podcast and I hope you learn a lot about eventually transitioning out of the business. Hi, Nick. Welcome to the RealTrending podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. And so you wrote The Golden Handoff, which is about selling a real estate practice. And you're doing a second edition right now. But I want to talk to you a little bit. You mentioned that you sold your residential business. You're in commercial now. So talk to me a little bit about what you're doing right now. And then we can get into some other details about The Golden Handoff.
Yeah, so it's been an exciting couple years. I had started my own firm about 6 years ago, and we had been doing commercial and residential for a very long time. I got interested in commercial because the first home I bought for myself was actually zoned commercial in a district where a lot of homes were being converted to cafes and offices and things like that. If you've ever been to Nashville's Music Row, you're familiar with districts where there's lots of cool old houses that are now recording studios and publishers and things like that. So similar part of Portland that I lived in. And so that kind of sent me off on a journey learning about commercial, got my CCIM designation, and kind of coming out of the recession, I started working with a lot of developers doing land acquisition. They would build an apartment building. We would sell the apartment building to an investor. And so that became a really big part of what my team did. And it's really my passion. I started buying rental houses and then apartments and then office buildings. And so I kind of saw how that had made a huge impact for me and also for my clients. And we had a couple people join the company that focused on the commercial side. And so that part of our business was doing incredibly well. And kind of the story of, if you chase two rabbits, you'll catch none. I decided in 2022 to sell the residential part of the business, which was really eye-opening for me because I had been buying businesses to grow mine. And I'll tell that story too, because I think it's the best way to grow a business, and it's still very underutilized. And for both retiring agents and adopting agents, kind of the two phases of business of growing and then peaking and then slowing down. And so I sold my residential business to focus on commercial. That went, I think, in my opinion, really, really well. It freed up my time to focus on that. And the team that took over does a really fantastic job. And I just literally 2 days ago got a notice that there's a referral fee coming in and, where do you want us to send the check? And so that's always nice to have that stuff coming in. Yeah. And it lets me focus on the commercial side of the business. So.
Okay, great. And so you're doing a second edition, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the differences. And were some of your lessons learned selling your own residential business incorporated into this? Were you selling a brokerage or were you selling your book of business?
I was selling the book of business, so I kept the brokerage. Okay. Now we subsequently have merged in with a larger national firm because our clients are, in the last couple of years have gone from being very local, regional focused to being more nationally focused. And I think that's partially, my business maturing and our clients having bigger funds and more resources and looking to diversify. And I've done the same thing. I've been buying properties in other states and other property types. So we wanted to be able to serve our clients in that way. Absolutely, I learned a lot in selling my business. And what I think my biggest takeaway is that a lot of the people I reached out to about buying my business were actually looking to retire themselves. And you wouldn't have known that from the outside looking in. And so that was really surprising. These are a lot of people I knew personally, and I would say I knew pretty well. And in having that conversation about um, them growing their business with helping my clients, they were like, actually, we're trying to hit pause because we're looking to kind of phase out or slow down. The thing I think that is very, very different about the new edition. So it isn't like I just changed some words and some chapters. There's a whole new section to the book, and it's all about what I call partial handoffs. And I'm really excited about this because for 10 years of buying businesses, the number one objection I had was always, I'm not ready to really retire. And in the book, I focused on people that were, at that point where they wanted to hand off the business and then stop working on it, because that was the first 6 businesses I purchased. That's what we did. And here I am having all these conversations with other really good agents about, hey, I'd love to buy your business. And they say, well, I'm not really ready yet. So in my mind, I would just, okay, well, let's talk 6 months from now. Let's talk a year from now. And I had a list of agents who, every 6 months or a year, I'd check in. How are you doing? Are you ready? Do you want to keep going? Do you want to hand it off yet? And the answer really is the partial handoff, which is you can do both. If you've worked for 20 or 30 years in your business and you don't want to keep growing, or you're already starting to phase out, which is what naturally happens in real estate. You kind of grow, and then you phase out. But in that phase out period, those clients start working with other agents because you're not doing market updates and you're not hosting events and you're not calling them every year to check in and you're not calling on the anniversary of when they bought or sold. And so you start to let a lot of the, steps and your client management slip because you just get burned out. And the thing is, what I realize is like, that's okay. So how do we solve that problem? So Tracey, how do I let you work with the clients you love, your top 10% on the types of properties you want to work on? Let's say you only want to do listings in certain neighborhoods. We can do that now. But before, the Golden Handoff was really more focused on kind of an all or nothing moment where someone is 100% letting the new adopting agent take over. And the partial handoff is so powerful because what I found is that a lot of agents, a lot of their identity is tied to being a producer or being in the business or part of the community. And I think, being a part of the community in a very high level is one of the really great parts about being in this business, is that you have all these connections to your community. And it's a very rewarding job as well when you're helping people buy and sell and you're able to provide a really high level of service, because it's a really important part of people's lives and part of their finance. So the partial handoffs, there are a couple different ways we'll talk about how people who want to phase out can connect with someone, who want to bring someone on to learn their niche or specialty can train someone and let them take over more and more over time. And for me, with the team I'm working with, I'm what I call an honorary team member, where I'm still talking to clients all the time about residential real estate, asking questions, qualifying, giving guidance. But then when they want to go tour homes or they're ready to list, the team steps in and then takes those next steps with them. And I think for anyone on this listening to this that's built a team, or whether you have an assistant or you've got 20 people, you've already done a partial handoff within your team. And usually, you hire someone to help with admin and marketing, then you hire a buyer's agent, and then from there you kind of build out all those specialties. And so it isn't an unfamiliar thing. It's just looking at it in a different way. It's basically getting all the benefits of having or being a part of a team without having to be the person responsible for managing it and paying all the bills and taking all the risk.
Yeah. I mean, I think a partial handoff, it sounds interesting. I think I want more details, like how does that work from a transaction standpoint? And, has that changed given the new policies and procedures, how that works?
Yeah. So my understanding of the new policies and procedures, it's interesting. So I'm primarily in Oregon, and we've had buyer broker agreements my whole career. So we've had buyer agency and buyer broker agreements, and I was using them from the get-go as part of my buyer consultation process, explaining here's what we do. And we would have in it that, here's our fee. And, so if we help you buy a for sale by owner and they don't want to pay, or we find a house that's completely unlisted at all, and I call the owner and they agree to sell you this house because it's your dream home and it's the best one for you, which is what I want to do, that you're agreeing to pay our commission. And if it's in the MLS and then they're agreeing to pay a buyer broker, that is handled through that. So I don't believe that should change anything. The most common type of partial handoff is the phase out, which is,
Mhm.
I'll say this, if you're listening to this and you're growing your business, then you are on the adopting agent side. You want to be looking at this as a growth strategy to add clients, just like you do anything else to meet new people and add clients. Um, if you are not growing, you are phasing out. So
Mhm.
and I would say that the important thing is to be really honest with yourself and to make a conscious decision, because you're either going to find someone to partner with or find a team to join or join you and do a partial handoff, or your clients are going to work with other agents, the ones you're not connecting with and the people you're not helping. So if you're doing 50 million in sales the last 10 years and now you're doing 40, 30, 20, if you're doing 20 now and you used to do 50, 30 million of dollars of business of clients, whatever that represents in your market, is working with other people. They're not gone. They're not doing real estate. That's still happening. And so you can consciously make a decision, I don't want to grow, and that's fine, or I don't need to grow. But make that decision and take the time to find the right partner and do a handoff for part of your business. And what this looks like for a lot of people is they want to keep their core clients. They probably want to keep listings in the neighborhoods that they're most specialized in. And the leads, the sign calls, the past clients that they haven't talked to in 10 years, 5 years, the people that aren't super responsive, that all gets handled by the adopting agent or their team. And you continue to work on the stuff you love. So it allows you to keep doing the 20 million in sales, but let the team handle the 30 and then get the referral fees on that. And what's crazy, the whole reason I wrote this book is I didn't know any better. So I started in 2006 and we started buying businesses in 2010.
Mhm.
And I was reaching out looking for a book or a model I could follow. And my team leader, we reached out to 800 offices, and the answer was there's no solution. There is no model. And we had already done it 2 or 3 times at this point. And I was trying to listen to my mentors, don't reinvent the wheel, don't reinvent the wheel. And it turns out there was no wheel. And so I couldn't believe it because, these relationships are worth a fortune. And you're talking billions of dollars of fees that are happening. And you have these amazing relationships and you have this deep amount of trust with your clients. If you're doing a good job, I mean, they don't want to go interview 5 more agents. They want to work with you. And so if you're not have the capacity or if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But then find a good agent to help them. Your clients will be actually very happy that you took the time to find an adopting agent. Just like if you went to your dentist and all of a sudden the doors were locked, that doesn't
Mhm.
happen. There's a new dentist that comes in and takes over, and you go to the same office, and there's probably the same person at the front desk to meet you and the same hygienist. And then you've got a new dentist. But you don't have to go interview 10 more people or go on Google and find someone and call all your friends. Same thing with like a good attorney or a good lender, a good CPA. People don't want to change those things. Once they find someone that is good, they can trust, they want to keep them. And a handoff allows you to find that person and do that. Now, the cool thing is what I did, there's a whole chapter of interviews in the new book as well, because I didn't want it to just be my story of my
Mhm.
experience. Um, the first version was really about my experience with 3 key people that I worked with, and their stories are in the book, and they're still there because right now, this, we're going through
Mhm.
an inflection point in real estate for as an industry, as a market cycle. And whenever that happens, we have a lot of turnover. And so I think that this might be the best opportunity in the next 10 years for both sides to make this decision. And there's just not a better way to grow your business by referral than by doing handoffs and buying businesses. Um, to give this a little bit of color, I worked 14 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week for 4 years to go from 0 clients to 200 clients. In the next 4 years, I bought 6 businesses, worked way less, and went from 200 clients to 2,000 clients. And it's really critical that I explain that these are not leads. These are clients who were referred to me, who their agent endorsed me and my team. And when we worked with those clients from these adopted client lists, we were almost never competing with other agents. When we connected with someone and they asked us to come, look at their home, or they wanted to buy a new home, it was incredibly rare that we were competing against other agents versus when I would meet someone at an open house, they would interview 3 or 4 people. And that's fine. You want to still be able to win those deals and prove your value and show your worth. But man, it's really nice when you work by referral because you already have relationship, you already have trust. And where you start is helping the client. You don't start by selling yourself. And that, I think for all of us, that's like a dream scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing you can do that will help you add clients this fast and this easily as doing a golden handoff. And the crazy thing is that the retiring agents still, the original book's been out 9 years. I spent all year this year working on the new version. I'm really excited about it. I'm super happy with what it is. And I think it will help so many more people. But these retiring agents, I just did a call the other day and, the gentleman leading the call said, if you're thinking of selling your business, don't wait for someone to call you. You need to be proactive and go find those people. And I did the same thing. No one was calling me to buy my business. I called 5 of the top agents I knew personally and asked them if they were interested, and ended up needing to work with a team because I had 800 clients to hand off, and no one I knew wanted to add that many clients and have to make that many calls because they were already busy. And so it took a whole team. So there's 4 agents on this team that are each have 200 clients they're responsible for, and they're doing a fantastic job. And I'm so glad I made that decision because, I made the conscious choice that like I can go back to working 14 hours a day and call all these people myself and stay in touch. But what I really want to do is focus on the commercial side of the business, but make sure all these people that have helped me have this wonderful career have an agent they can call on that's going to be able to do really good work.
Yeah, I think a lot of agents don't really realize that they have anything to sell. And there's some confusion about who owns those clients. Is it the broker? Is it the agent? That book of business. Most brokers have clarified that and are, even from a, corporate level that you keep your CRM, you keep your database. So I think
Yeah.
that is becoming more clear now to people. But a lot of them, or they think it's just too much trouble. Like, I don't even want to deal with any of that. So talk to me a little bit about the structure of a deal. Like, what are the types of structures? Is it like a, earn out? Is it, how are they generally structuring these deals?
Yeah. The nice thing about this is it's all based on referral fees. So it's something incredibly familiar to everyone in real estate. And the reason is it's incredibly difficult to predict the value of a business
Mm-hmm.
once that agent isn't involved. The nice thing about a partial handoff is it's like an earnout because the retiring agent isn't actually retired. They're still involved. They're just responsible for less of the work.
Mm-hmm.
And that is to me like just like this perfect situation. It helps the people growing adopt the businesses but still have more support. So it isn't as much of a increase in their workload because they're not 100% responsible. The retiring agent is still involved helping. And so the typical original golden handoff is that once the handoff happens, it starts a 3-year process where the referral fees start at 30% the first year and then go to 20 and 10. The difference is that if a single client in the database buys and sells every year, that you're paying referral fees on every transaction during the contract period versus if the retiring agent meets new people and refers them in as new clients, then it's like a normal referral fee where it's for the first purchase or sale. And so that's a really key point to understand is that, and that happened, we had a client that sold $2 million condos and bought $1 million house over 2 years. And we paid referral fees on each of those transactions. The way that the traditional golden handoff is different than a partial handoff is that on the for the clients that the retiring agent is working with, so the listings they're working with or buyers are working with, then they have whatever your normal team split is or your brokerage split is or your partnership agreement is for those active deals where the retired agent is taking the responsibility. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. And I, in a lot of the interviews, talk about how they have different structures because some of them are families where like the son's taking over for the mom and it starts in one phase and goes to another phase at a certain point. Some of them are traditional teams where someone comes on and they get paid like an agent on the team for the deals they do, and then they get referral fees on everything that the team handles for them. And so it kind of comes down to how are you partnering and what resources are available. In a lot of cases, the retired agent, joins a team and they have all of a sudden way more support than they're used to. So they have a dedicated transaction coordinator. They've got marketing support. All these things they used to do themselves, now they have help on. So it's reasonable that you don't keep as much of the fee because you're borrowing resources and getting the benefit, and that costs money. And sometimes teams are merging, and so some of the staff are coming over. So, when we sold the residential business, some of my agents moved over. Some of them decided to go independent. I do agree with what you said earlier that the client relationships are really owned by the agent. I don't think the brokerage really should have ownership of that. It gets a little fuzzier if it's a team situation where the team lead is referring people within the team. I think that, that every team has to kind of decide how they do that. But, is it referred out or is it still owned by the team? And those are questions that teams have to answer for themselves. And I hear a million different versions of how people handle that. I do think it needs to be equitable and fair. I think if it's really one-sided, like if the referral, like I know some people like, oh yeah, I get 50% referral fees. It's like, well, that's crazy because why would the other person be motivated to help those people? Because after they pay the referral fee and then pay all their expenses, it's really very little money left. And so don't be too greedy on that side. And on the flip side, you want to get a benefit for all the work you've done on your whole career and for the relationship and making that connection and endorsing that person. And so I think that goes through the idea of like mutually sustainable deals and equitable deals. That doesn't, whether that's your team or a partial handoff or a traditional handoff, I think that's important to have that all the way through. And I've always, strove to do that in every deal and with my team, that the risk and reward was fair on both sides. But yeah, the retired agents out there, the people that are kind of phasing out, whether they're doing it consciously or unconsciously, they're not really aware of this yet at the level I was hoping they would be. My goal in writing the book 9 years ago was to change how realtors retired in the entire industry forever. And we're getting there. Industry leaders and team leaders and the top agents and people in the business are very aware of this and are using it and implementing it. I do a lot of speaking at conferences to help people build awareness. NAR has been a big supporter. And so it's getting there, but it's still not where I want it. We're 9 years in. It's going to probably take another 10 years of being able to like talk to folks like you and reach your audience and make people aware of this process that is very simple and very worthwhile in doing.
Yeah, I know. There are more teams being valued. RealTrends, which part of the company was sold to HousingWire, but the part that wasn't was their valuation and M&A. And a lot of teams are coming to them now to get a valuation. So that's something different that really has grown in the past 5 years. But they're also selling as a brokerage, kind of,
Yeah.
not necessarily selling as just the team lead getting out, or like you're talking about, which is kind of the handoff. So we have about 10 minutes. So I really want to get into some specifics here and some best practices. What should they look for in the agent that they want to take over their business? And tell me some, where they might find some challenges and how to navigate the process.
Yeah. So what you're looking for in your adopting agent is going to change based on the size of your business. And so, for me, it ended up, I started calling agents with small teams, and I ended up needing to go to a brokerage that was a very large team brokerage model,
Hmm.
just because of the scale of the amount of people that needed to be called and taken care of. Number one, the adopting agent or team needs to have the skills to help buy and sell. And I know that sounds silly, but one of the things I saw early on is a lot of people would work with someone who was struggling or wasn't that busy because there was an assumption that they had more free time and they would put
Hmm.
more energy into it because they didn't have a lot of their own clients. The reality is that they were probably just not doing a very good job running their business and not staying in touch with their own clients. And so if you double their workload, they're not going to suddenly magically get good
Hmm.
at doing business. Um, so finding people that are already successful and know how to help people buy and sell, they have to have the financial ability and the time ability to grow the business,
Hmm.
because my first business I bought had 300 clients. I had 200. So it wasn't like I went up 10%. I had to
Hmm.
hire more buyer's agents. I had to hire a second assistant because it was very easy for me to manage relationships with 200 clients. But now that we're 500 clients overnight, it was a
Hmm.
dramatic change. And then to go from the 500 to 2000, I eventually had 12 people on my team. And
Hmm.
so if you're talking to someone that isn't committed to growing in that way, it's going to be difficult to provide the same level of service. And that is really, really important. Um, I, I think that, ethics and honest and fair dealings is really important, both for your clients and for your relationship with that adopting agent. I get asked a lot, how do you confirm that they're not doing deals and not paying you?
Hmm.
And, whatever you want to be able to do. So I can actually go into the database and see the entire list of my clients within the
Hmm.
database of the other firm. And it's lucky we have the same database system, so it makes it easy to navigate. But if you don't, I think, hey, every quarter I want a report of every deal you've listed or
Hmm.
sold, to make sure, oh, we didn't miss someone that was actually one of my clients. And I think 99% of people want to do the right thing. If you've adopted a business, that retiring agent is the best client, best referral source you've ever had by
Hmm.
20, by 100. So you want to treat them as such. You want to be grateful and thankful for that relationship and that trust with the retiring agent, because no one else is going to refer you 300, 400 clients in your career. No one. They're going to be the number one source by a mile. So
Hmm.
treat them that way. Um, the other thing I think is really critical is that there's like an X factor that you like the person, you think your clients will like him. That doesn't mean they have to be exactly like you.
Hmm.
What makes us great as realtors is not that we all have one personality type, it's that we're able to adapt our personality to serve our clients. The way that you explain a contract to an engineer versus the head of sales of a company is radically different. One conversation might take 40 minutes, one might take 1 minute. So you have to kind of be able to read the room and understand your clients. So I think a lot of people don't find an adopting agent and don't even try because they think that they have this relationship that only they can have with their clients. And that's just simply not true. Do you think that once you stop selling that your clients will never move? I mean, that's ridiculous. They're going to figure it out just fine. And they probably already know 5 other agents that they know and like and trust enough that they have a solid second choice.
Hmm.
Um, so the other piece I think that's really critical when you're making the decision on who to work with is knowing how you're connect, where your business comes from
Hmm.
and how you run your marketing to stay in relationship with those clients. And so having your marketing plan really clear, it doesn't need to be an MBA document. It could be a
Hmm.
paragraph. It could be, I call everyone twice a year. We send a newsletter once a month. We host 2 events a year. It could literally be that simple. Um, but make sure that with the adopting agent that they have a marketing plan and that it matches up enough. So for example, I like to call people and I like to talk about the market. If I talk to an adopting agent that says we've automated everything, we use this company to automate all of our marketing, and we do only text and email until someone needs an appointment, and then we like talk to them. I'd say that's not going to work for my clients, for me.
Hmm.
Now, maybe it works just as good in reality, but that's not what I want to do. And that's not what my clients expect me to call and talk about the market and check in, once or twice a year, and to send them updates about the market. I don't send football schedules and recipe cards and
Hmm.
things like that. That's not what I do with my clients. Now, I'm not saying that's wrong, but
Yeah.
it's not what I do. So making sure that your marketing plan and your adopting agent's marketing plan matches up in the most critical places, and that the
Mhm.
adopting agent is committed to executing that marketing plan, and that is part of your agreement. I think that's really important. Where I see hurdles is the retiring agent doesn't have a really updated database. So they hand stuff
Mhm.
off and there's like leads mixed in with clients. A lot of the information's outdated. So emails are bouncing, phones aren't answering. So the more you can keep your database up to date for yourself will help your business. And then when you go to sell it or do a partial handoff will be hugely helpful. On the flip side, I think where the adopting agents can kind of stumble is they go, oh my gosh, what an amazing opportunity. I'm going to go from 200 clients to 300 clients. And they think they can do it with the same resources and time that they've been running their 200 client business. And they either get really overwhelmed with the amount of work, or they can't really switch from really great salesperson to someone who manages and runs a team, because at a certain
Mhm.
phase, you have to have other people helping. And that's different for everyone, but I think once you start doing more than two closings a month, you're stretched incredibly thin. And even at two a month, you're
Mhm.
probably at the point where you need help. Um, and so if you're doing one deal a month and you buy a business, you're going to be doing more than that. And so you have to be willing to grow and scale and kind of change. You have to kind of really willing to grow as a person and change what your skill set is. And that isn't easy. I was the part about being a real estate guy doing sales was very easy for
Mhm.
me. The transition to building a team and managing people was very, very difficult. And I banged my head against the wall a lot. And I got a lot of mentorship and a lot of coaching. And it took a really, really long time to get okay at
Mhm.
it. Versus the sales side felt very natural and comfortable for me, very easy. And so if you want to grow and you suck at management and leadership, you might need to partner with someone that's really, really good at that and pay them really well, so you can be the head of sales and let someone else be the operations and the person that hires and trains and keeps people on track.
Yeah, and I would guess that the transition is probably the most important part. I mean, you can't just have some new agent all of a sudden calling these clients. There has to be some type of, like you said, handoff that they're introduced to this new agent by their, the current agent who's selling their, or the retiring agent. Is there a process for that in the book that you outline?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that is the key thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you think that this is just, I'm going to write a check and I'm going to get a list of names, you're buying leads.
Yeah.
And this is not building a business. This is not adopting clients. This is not referrals and relationship. So there absolutely is a process that I go into in detail of um, how you communicate, the different methods of letting people know. Um, so pretty simply, if you go to goldenhandoff.com, if you sign up there, the first thing you get is a link to download all of the resources. So the contract scripts, announcement letters, marketing pieces. They're all editable, so once you download them, you can change it, put your face and name and info on it. I tried to make it really easy to have some templates to start with.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to update these for you. These are not like documents you can just uh, send out today. You need to like
Mm-hmm.
edit them and get them, have your attorney look at it, make sure your marketing people look at it. I don't know the rules in every state, but
Yeah.
they're good templates to start with. So the important thing is that you have a phase, and depending on the size of the business, this could be a couple weeks or it might be a couple months or even a couple years, where you're basically, the retiring agent lets their clients know through the mail, through email, now with like video and social media. So if we were doing this, we would do a video just like this or in person
Mm-hmm.
and send it out to all of our clients. Hey, I'm retiring and Tracy's taking over, and let me tell you, I've known Tracy for 10 years and she's a fantastic
Mm-hmm.
agent. She helps all these people. Her team's wonderful. And then let you talk a little bit about kind of who you are and how you take
Mm-hmm.
care of people and what your vision is for helping clients in the market and your city and your community. And so you want to have a lot of opportunities to co-market like this, whether that's a letter, an email, social media, video. And so just use all those resources you have. I still do videos with my team that took over my residential business where we'll do each of the 4 agents. So we'll record a video, and all the agents I work with there have different personalities. They're all really good at what they do, but they're very different. And so, Darby and I will talk about the market, and Rachel and I will talk about trends in design and architecture, and Lauren and I will talk about, primarily home buying and that process because she works with a lot of buyers. And so we'll do a quick little interview and chat, and then we'll share that with our clients to help educate them and stay in touch and stay in front of them. But yeah, the important thing is the book is called The Golden Handoff, not like buy a list of names, because that part of it is really, really critical. It's how you explain why you're retiring, or if I'm still here, but I'm only doing listings. And so I'm joining this group or partnering with this other agent, and they're going to help all the buyers. And here's how they do that. And then explaining, once people are clear that this is the agent now, what are they going to do going forward? So that's another piece that's important. Tracey's going to call you at least twice a year. You're going to get Tracey's market newsletter every month. Tracey hosts, training events every quarter, and you're going to get invited to that. And you can invite your friends and family to investing classes and home buying classes and remodel your house classes. And so it's important to explain to people not only here's what's happening now, but here's what's going to happen. Here's what you can expect next. And then the adopting agent has to deliver on that. That's the next step. And that's why it's critical to, interview a couple people, make sure it's a good fit. I was shocked that a lot of the people I was excited about working with didn't want to grow. And they were like, how are you doing what you're doing? I want to do that. It's like, well, that's great. Let's talk about it. But I still need to find someone that wants to do the work and help my people. And so, yes, it goes over the process in detail. And I think you can add in whatever social media, video type things you're doing in addition to traditional mail, email, phone calls, texts, those types of things.
Yeah. Well, Nick, this has been great. We could probably talk for hours about this. Unfortunately, our time is up. But thank you so much for joining the RealTrending podcast and sharing so many great nuggets with our audience. And I think you've given people a lot to think about as they transition out of the business. So thanks for sharing that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great talking to you.